Hey guys, just waiting about a minute or two and then I'll start. One more minute. Um, doing a tutorial on how to play Ritual Beast first, and then we're gonna get in some uh, Saffira, Queen of I think that's Dragons, some ritual play with her. Uh, Someone asked for one, so I built them one, and they were concerned about one, two, three crystal wings. However, getting over it, and I'm like, that's not even an issue. First, your opponent have to be able to summon the thing, and secondly, it has to be able to remain on the field. So um I'm doing a stream for that, so we're gonna get in some Saffira ritual online duels, so you guys can see what a real competitive Saffira deck's supposed to look like in terms of ritual. I've seen some, but they usually play Herald of Perfection, and it really wasn't cutting it too much, because if you have no fairies in hand, you can't make a negate, and if your opponent goes first, you can't make any negates or stops. So I kind of constructed a way to make sure that you stay relevant, whether you go first, second, third, fourth, or whatever turn you get in Yu-Gi-Oh, to make sure that you can consistently make plays to stay in the duel while slowing your opponent down and replenishing your hand, as well as being able to create a devastating board. Promise. Uh oh boy, I really would have to. That's tough. Between, I would honestly say between Monarchs and you get the, what is, toy vendor send wings, then banish wings and bear, draw, send toy vendor to graveyard, draw again, add again off vendor when it goes to the graveyard. Like that's like a crazy amount of pluses. I promise you, I actually use that engine to facilitate what that was the three legendary knights, Timaeus, Critias, and Hermos, and that was awesome. Like, that engine just facilitated that, got those three knights out, was able to fuse with them and actually win game. Like, that was awesome. And then with the Monarch engine, being able to use Pantheism, plus your two, then banish it, add one, and then once you use Edia and she goes to the graveyard, whether you summon her on the field or send her directly from the deck, you get your Pantheism back, and you go +2 on top of your draw and just keep cycling through your Pantheisms. Um, if you don't banish them. But if you have Edia in the deck, banish them, use Edia, put them back in your hand, draw two again once they're in the grave, then use the trap, put it back in your deck, and you just continually repeat that cycle, and you will run through about half your deck in the space of about 2 turns. In the first turn, you can run through almost half your deck. If you break right on the draws and you get the right cards, you are gonna run through about half your deck in the space of that same first turn if it breaks right. If it doesn't, in 2 turns you're gonna run through half your deck. Same thing with Fluffles. They have the fastest speeds in the game. Um, what it is? Perform Pals. Their speed is nice too. The only thing that would make their speed better, if your opponent actually destroys a monster while you have at least 2 draw lizards in play, so you can +3 automatically or +4, and then you just go off on their pot engine with turtle and then another draw lizard, or use there's Performable Magician, and pop 2 in your scale, and then do the pot thing, and then pendulum to the field, and then if your opponent destroys it, for every Performable you have on the field, and if you have 5 and they destroy 1, then you draw 4 in mechanics. And I actually used that engine to facilitate a lot of other decks that were really slow, and I wanted to see certain cards, and as well as that engine defends well as well, being able to set your scale, pop them, and then just bring them back in defense mode. The only thing that's annoying is if your opponent actually opens up with Dark Hole or Regeki or draws into it, then they just play your field, and then you'd be open. That's the only downside. But other than that, they're the 3 best speed engines in the game. What do you say, Ghost? I guess we could get started. Ritual Beast. Alright. The real thing behind Ritual Beast is actually their ability to float. And when I mean float, being able to banish themselves and go into their fusions, and then being able at any point in time being able to defuse and bring themselves back. And in the build that I did, because that is their strength, I teched in the Necro Face. I know it's unusual, and I know you've never seen it done before, because it has never been done before with Necroface. No one plays Necroface in Ritual Beast. I can assure you of that. I've never seen it. But Necroface, the reason why it's in, and I'm gonna explain to you why, and this is really helpful, especially going first. If you open up with your gold sarcophagus and you banish the Necroface, you have 5 cards that are going to be banished from both the top of you and your opponent's deck. And this is how useful this is. By banishing 5 cards from the top of your opponent's deck, you then get inside information on what your opponent's playing, or what they could potentially be playing, because you're already seeing 5 cards from their deck. On top of that, it hurts your opponent's ability to acquire cards to achieve that OTK or any kind of combo they may be trying to assemble by banishing 5 cards from their deck, especially cards that are with a heavy draw engine that require you to try to draw through to get to those cards. By banishing those cards, it would slow down their draw potential as well as hurt their combo plays, especially if the card is restricted to 1, something like Soul Charge or Upstart, or any card that's restricted to 1 that may be required for their combo play. By catching that on the opening pitch off your gold sarcophagus and your Necroface, that is awesome. You get inside information on what your opponent's playing without them even playing a single card, and then you get to banish 5 cards from the top of your deck. And this is how useful this is. There is up to a +4 play you can make every single turn off your Ritual Beast, and the reason for that is being able to special summon back both your Ritual Beast and Spiritual Beast simultaneously. And what you want to do is acquire 1 of each one of them, 1 of each ritual, and 1 of each spiritual. Banish. Once you have a total, or at least have 4 of them banished, and have the other 2 on the field. So let's say you have Apollio and Elder on the field, you would want your Lara as well as your Win banished, as well as your Pengu and your Canahawk or your Dolphin. Well, I just call it Dolphy. Forgive me for giving them cute and cuddly names, but yeah, that is what you really want to aim to acquire. Once you have them banished, because they can only be special summoned once per turn, when you rotate, let's say you go off of Elder and you fuse it with Apollio, you want to make Altai Cannon Hawk. And what you do with Cannon Hawk, which is so neat, especially why I love combining it with Penguin or Cannon Hawk, but the regular Cannon Hawk is better. You get more pluses that way. But once you have a card banished, when you bring him, you're gonna end up banishing, let's say, your Elder and your Apollio. And once you have any other additional card, let's say you use Elder and Canahawk, you're gonna use Canahawk's effect to banish one of your ritual beast cards. Once you have done that and you have at least 3 cards banished, what you're going to do is you're going to activate Ulti-Counterhawk's effect to add a card from your deck to your hand. Once you activate that effect, you're going to select one. You're going to select the opposite card that you banished, and you're going to select either the spiritual beast or the elder. Then what you do is chain his second effect to defuse, and you're going to select one of the spiritual beast, either your ritual beast tamer or your spiritual beast that was targeted by this effect, and well, basically you get to bring 2 of them back. But when the one that you targeted for the effect, because some people get this confused when they have more than 3 cards banished, you want to make sure that one of the cards that you targeted for his first effect to add a card is selected, and then you can select the opposite. Whether you selected, let's say you selected a elder for the first effect, you want to make sure you select that exact elder to bring back off a second effect to defuse. And what this allows you to do is put one card in your graveyard as the cost, and you still get to add that 1 card instead of having to send 2 cards to the graveyard. Because with ritual beast, you need both the elder and you need both the ritual beast tamer and the spiritual beast banish in order to defuse. So whenever you use Ulti-Counterhawk's effect to defuse, if you use his first effect to add, you would be unable to defuse. So to avoid that, what you want to do is always make sure that you hit his add effect first, select 2, make sure the 2 that you select is always one of the opposite cards, because you need you don't want to select both your ritual tamer, your beast tamer, and your spiritual beast, because when he special summons them back, because none goes to the graveyard, you will not get to add. So you need at least 3 of your ritual beast cards banished. That's why I said you can use Counterhawk's effect to make a banish, or what I love to do is use Pengu's effect. Regardless of which tamer I'm using, I like to use his effect because he can banish one of your fusions. You have 3 dolphins you can use to banish, so you have excellent fodder in your extra deck, so you don't have to touch any of your other fusions that you would regularly use. So you can banish it for Dolphy's effect. Then when you fuse, you would select the fusion on either Dolphy or the tamer, and then you would chain his defusion effect to that, and then select your tamer and your Dolphy to bring back, and only the fusion would go to the graveyard. And what this does is set up for a Pelio's effect to banish and power up, because you always need that card, that one specific card that you want to rotate between your banish and your graveyard, so you can get that free power play. If you watch the ritual deck beast video that I did, you would see where I made those plays. But that is the key concept behind Counterhawk, Ulti-Counterhawk. And to go +4, once you have these 2 on the field, what you would do is you would go into Ulti-Counterhawk, and you would +1 when you do that, as long as this is already set up by having at least 1 tamer and 1 spiritual beast. And you win. Or if you're using the pendulum one, you want to make sure you have any of them, just make sure you have them banished. And once you acquire them banished, as well as the spiritual for the, well, any other odd spiritual, you just don't want repeat, because you can only special summon them once. You're going to normal summon, bring any one of them, then you're gonna special summon the Counterhawk. Once you special summon the Counterhawk, use his effect. Like I said, you're gonna rotate. You're always going to select 1 odd and 1 of the same. So you would then, once you select, let's say you're rotating, you would now rotate between the next 2, and then you would repeat that same process. Once you defuse and you add, you're gonna bring these 2, and then you're going to make Altai Counter Hawk, because his effect is not once per turn. You're going to bring him back again, and you're going to do the same thing again. And then you're going to do the same thing again by selecting the next two to bring off the defusion. But you have to make sure that you're selecting them as well for the add, so that you're only sending one card back to your graveyard. So you're going to normal summon and bring them, and then you're going to special summon and bring them. So this is going to be +1 when you bring Counterhawk, Altai Counterhawk the first time. This is going to be +2 when you bring him back. This is going to be +3 when you bring them back. And then because they were normal summon, when you bring them back, you can make him a 4th time to make a +4. So off of that, you're going to +4 Ritual Beast cards in a single turn, and that is beside your draw phase. And that is how you go +4 in a single turn off of the Altai Counter Hawk. I would not recommend going +4 though. +3 is fine. That is more than enough. The reason being is because you want to set up a defensive play for your opponent's turn. You really don't want your Altai Counter Hawk on the field, and then you have to defuse it, and then bring weaker targets for your opponent to take out. What you want to do is you want to go that +3, and then once you bring them back for the very first time, since they were normal summon, you want to make Altai Dolphy, because it has a 2800 booty and it cannot be destroyed by card effects. So your opponent opening up with Darkhold, Raigeki, it's just a waste. They can't even out your board. If they have monster effects that clear the field, you have nothing to worry about. Spell trap card effects that clear the field, you have nothing to worry about. And then they have to then try to beat over 2800. When they can, all you would do is during the battle phase, you would defuse them, and you would then get any two, one Ritual Beast Tamer and one Spirit Ritual Beast back from being banished to defend as 2. But because you +3, you should most likely have your ambush and your steeds. What your steeds do is, once for every Ritual Beast that you have on the field and you activate it, you can destroy a monster on the field, not even just your opponent's side, on your field as well. So you can make 1 into 2 and then go off and use steeds to pop 2 monsters. So depending on what your opponent's doing, you can make a nice interruption play so that they can't exceed or synchro summon, depending on what your opponent's trying to set up. Like I said, you +3, most likely you got your ambush, your steeds, and you would really want to go for your Ritual Beast spawns, because it's an excellent way to quick play fusion during the battle phase, and that is awesome when you're trying to OTK your opponent. Also you want to make sure, if you still have your Altai Dolphy fused during your opponent's end phase, this is what you want to do. You want to defuse it, because you want to special summon 1 Ritual Tamer and 1 Spirit Ritual Beast during the end phase of your opponent's turn. Because it was special summoned during your opponent's end phase, when your turn starts, that doesn't count toward its special summon for your turn. So you then get to make your +3 or 4 play again the following turn. There's a really neat trick you can do with the fusions, where you would combo them with Soul Absorption, because they just banish themselves, come back and banish again. Every time that happens, you get 500 life points. So the more you keep doing it, the more life points you get. And then, as well as if it's in combination with your Necro Face, when you banish, you're going to just gain a whole bunch of life points. But gaining life points is not my style of dueling. Winning is. So whatever form or method that I'm using, it's going to have to equate to getting me a win, and not just stacking up my life points and allowing my opponent to get even more and more turns to potentially come back and win the game. There's another neat trick you can do with Torrential Tribute. You can, if you have the set and it's your turn, you can fuse into Altai Dolphy and then activate Torrential Tribute in response and just clear your opponent's field, then defuse and make any other fusion you want and attack your opponent. Or what you can do is, when your opponent, if you summon your Altai Dolphy and you have this set and your opponent summons or they massively pendulum summons, you can just chain this in response. Because your opponent summons and Dolphy cannot be destroyed by card effects, you're going to wipe the field. Dolphy's going to stay on the field. End phase, you defuse, get your Tamer and your Spiritual Beast back, and then start your turn and then go your +3 or 4 if you have those conditions set by having at least the other 4 between the Larrowin, Pengu, Dolphin, Arcana, Hawk, and as well as your Apollio, depending on which set you're using, because you also have, like I said, another Ritual Beast, the Pendulum one, that you can also throw in there if you want, depending on how you feel the consistency is. Also, you can also chain this here in response to, you can also chain this in response to when you defuse. And when you defuse and you activate this, you can then use your quick play Ritual Beast Bonds to make your Ultra Dolphy again, so it can't be destroyed by card effects, but it's just an excellent way to trigger your Torrential Tribute and, you know, hurt your opponent while you get nothing. Alright, and my card choices, why they're in here. Foolish because of, I think Lara goes to the graveyard. If I need a decent opening play, like I said, I'll just use Foolish, combo it with Lara, and then I can start making my fusion plays. Like I said, a lot of Darkness is self-explanatory. That's really for Necroface, so you can like draw 2, try to draw into your Ritual Beast or Spiritual Beast, and then let Necroface go to work on your opponent's deck. You get inside information on what they're playing. You're gonna end up banishing some of your Ritual Beasts or your Tamers to help set up that condition so that you can go that +3 or 4 every single turn out. Gold Sarcophagus, just to try to get it to your hand, to get a Law of Darkness. Anything banished that you would want back, you can always normal summon the Necroface. That is not an issue. Hand Destruction to set up for Lara's effect, so you can pitch off 2 Spiritual Beasts to the graveyard, potentially draw into your Lara's, open up and start your combo plays. Raigeki just to out the field, 2 quick play fusions. That's just so when you do go into your battle phase and you're trying to out your opponent for game, you can make this guy Altai Gaia Polio, awesome 3200. Soul Charge just in case your opponent can't Solemn or they can't clear your field, or if they're using a deck destruction method to send them to the graveyard, you're going to use your Soul Charge to get them back. The more them go to the graveyard, the better for you. You can banish, hit your combo plays, make those plus plays, and set up to disrupt your opponent every single turn. Triple Twin Twisters, because we hate back row, absolutely hate it. We want nothing to do with back row. Tell your opponent's back row, go to hell, we want nothing to do with it. Your ambushes, because once you make this play with a Law or Gold Sarcophagus, they're going to get banished. So with your ambush, you can open up. If they got banished, just set your single ambush during your opponent's end phase. You get them right back. You really want to use ambush's effect to get your Tamers and Spiritual Beasts from the graveyard first, so that you can then banish them to make their rotation plays, so that they float, special summon, and you can make, like I said, those +3 and 4 plays every single turn. Your steeds, like I said, your interruption card, you have Ritual Beasts in play, you get to destroy that mini monsters. Doesn't get more simpler than that. Double Moxie, so if your opponent decides to go on a special summoning special summoning spree, all they are doing now is just setting themselves up for failure. 2 Necroface, like I said, to combo with the Law of Darkness, gets banished. 5 cards, sets up your plays, get inside scoop on your opponent's deck, can't stretch that enough. Once you know what your opponent's playing, you can then play your cards better so that you can be effective in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! There's nothing better than knowing. Once you know, you can then play your cards even better without guessing. Your Elders, because he's an excellent opener. He doesn't have a special summon effect. It is an additional normal summon, and it really gets your combo plays going, especially with him and Kiana Hawk or him and Rampen and Pengu. Excellent. Lara and Wayne have special summon effects, so you have to be careful when you use their effects because they can't rotate, or the fusions wouldn't be able to rotate because their effects special summon the spiritual beast, and because they can only be special summoned once per turn, you wouldn't be able to defuse. So you really want to go with Elder or already have them banished, so when you special summon them for the first time, you can still rotate. Your Pilio, he's just your, how to put it, your power source. You need extra attack points, you just go to him. Your Kiana Hawks, I can't stretch this enough. He's excellent. You get to select any one of your Ritual Beast cards in your deck and then banish it. So if you're trying to go off on that rotation play, let's say you made Lara and you had him so you summoned Lara because he was in the graveyard, you're gonna banish another Spiritual Beast, so that when you use her effect to bring him back and you're rotating, you can now select him as a part of the add process for Ultra Icana Hawk, and you can now select your opposite Spiritual Beast that you banish. So now that you get your Lara back, since she was normal summon, and another Spiritual Beast, and if you want to make a +2 that turn, you would be able to make the Ultra Icana Hawk again and do it again if you want to. It's up to you. I'm preferably on the last time I would be able to fuse. Like I said, I'd go for the Ultra Dolphy. Excellent protection, cannot be destroyed by card effects, 2800 booty. Can't ask for much more than that. As well as, because you added, you would most likely have added either your steeds or your ambush, so you're going to get excellent rotation plays. Once she's in defense mode, your opponent has an issue trying to get over here. Darkhold and Regeki absolutely useless. Destruction card effects absolutely useless, and your opponent's going to have to try to beat over 2800, which is not easy. 2 Dolphys, and its effect is excellent, especially against monsters that cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects such as Bizil. All you would do is use Dolphy's effect to banish, and it's also an excellent setup, like I say, for those odd plays. You really want to get your Spiritual Beast and your Ritual Beast banished so that you can actually go off on those odd plays. I can't stretch how much those odd plays make a big difference in a duel. But the Dolphy helps get rid of any card your opponent controls, but it's really more effective against troublesome monsters on board that, you know, cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. And just having Dolphy, it really saved me in an opening play in a duel when I was testing it out the first time, and I was like, hey, I can't even just use 1 copy. I need 2 copies of this. This is too good to pass up. Your Tengu, your Pengu, like I said, excellent opener, especially with Elder. You get to banish one of your fusions, and that fusion you then make float between the Altai Kiana Hawk's effect and the Pilio, because you're going to use it to power up and then use Altai Kiana Hawk's effect again to just keep adding, and you're only going to be sending that 1. Like I said, if you need to do rotation plays, you can. That is why 3 copies of every fusion is in, just in case you want to send one of your Ritual Beast Tamers to the graveyard. You can do so, as well as any of your Spiritual Beasts you can also send to the graveyard. 3 copies. 1 in Walters, 3 copies of the Altai Pilio, 1 Altai Kiana Hawk, because you can only have 1. If you can have more than 1, I would have been playing 3. The Altai Gaia Pilio, excellent in terms of fusion. When you fusion it with what's it? 1 Altai fusion and a Tamer and Ritual Beast, it has a negate effect. I trying to remember if I actually summoned it the correct way. I think I most of the time used the Ritual Beast bonds, but during either player's turn, if you summoned it that way, you when a spell or trap card or monster effect is activated, you can banish one of your Ritual Beast cards from your hand to negate the activation. If you do, destroy it. And being able to negate key plays your opponent can make that would have helped them make a comeback or stay or establish themselves in the game, being able to negate those are priceless. Like, there is no substitute for that. Three Altai Dolphies. Um, Forgive me, like I said, if I give them cute and cuddly names. I call it Dolphy. Um, Excellent, like I said, 2800 booty, cannot be destroyed by card effects, and can defuse on the fly. Basically, all of them can defuse on the fly except for the Altai Gaia Pelio. And then the reason why I run them the way I run them is because they are level 4 win monsters, and one of the best level 4 rank 4s in the game in terms of win is Lightning Jidori being able to be summoned. Any of your opponent's set cards you can send to the bottom of their deck, and then you can discard a unit to send a face-up card back to the top of their deck, which means no new cards, meaning you know exactly what your opponent's going to draw the next turn, and they have no choice in the matter unless they have an effect that's going to shuffle their deck. So basically, when you make him, you're going to -2 from your opponent field right away. One Daigusto Emerald, so that I can recycle any of the, let's say my Altai Canahawk ends up in the graveyard and I need it back in my extra deck, I would make him, put him back, or anything that I would need, put it back in my deck and draw a card. Castell, self-explanatory. He's just an easy out to a lot of face-up cards, or if you need it to go face down, he makes them go face down. And then one Ragnar Zero, just in case my opponent has power-up effects. You know, you bring Ragnar Zero, you pop it, and you +1. Those pluses, they are priceless. There is no substitute to those. Oh, I guess you missed that part. The reason for a Law of Darkness and Necroface and Gold Sarcophagus is because we need information when we duel, especially when going first. And then the key thing is with Yu-Gi-Oh, because we have restricted and limited cards, you want to make sure, if possible, you can clip any of those. It hurts your opponent's combo plays. So by opening up with Gold Sarcophagus and selecting Necroface, it's going to banish 5 cards from the top of both you and your opponent's deck. What this does is allow you to check those 5 cards, and it gives you insight on what your opponent's potentially playing, what their combos could potentially be, and it allows you to play your cards that much better in the game. As well as it banishing the top 5 cards of your deck, it sets up for those +3 and 4 plays by banishing your team 4 times in a single turn. If you're greedy, up to 4. If you're more tactical and you want to make sure that you get those disruption plays in there and make it harder for your opponent to overcome, then you would make the Altai Dolphy, because if you leave any of the other fusions out and they play something like Darkhold, Regeki, or any field clearance card, it doesn't matter if you defuse or not, you're gonna lose all your monsters. But with Dolphy, your opponent is going to have to use more resources, and causing your opponent to use more resources is what you always want to aim for, cutting down their hand size and causing them not to be able to hit a game-winning combo. So when you talk about Necroface and Allure, +2 on the draw and banish 5 cards, being able to get that information, as well as if you end up clipping a card that they only have 1 copy of in their deck or is restricted to 1, it hurts their combo plays, such as Soul Charge that they could potentially use to make a comeback if you had out their field, or if you had used your steeds to out their monsters and then they would have played Soul Charge. If it gets clipped on any of the Necrofaces banishes, such as with Gold Sarcophagus, and then following it back up with double Allure, it hurts them. And then when Necroface is banished and it banishes your monsters, it doesn't hurt you because you run 3 copies of Ambush, and Ambush gets them whether they are in the graveyard or removed from play. So you can basically open up with no monsters, hit the Gold Sarcophagus, set your Ambush, and once a Tamer and a Spiritual Beast is banished, you just bring them right back and you just go off on your combo plays. Like it's a priceless play, being able to know what your opponent's going to play or have an idea of what they're playing before they even make their move, or being able to clip any of their key cards for their combos, which really hurts, because if they only have 2 copies of a card and you clip 1, Now they're down to having to need that. Like, some people run 2 instant fusions, like me for instance. I run 2 instant fusions in most of my combo plays. So if you clip one of those, it's going to hurt my combo potential, being able to get to that Nord and revive a level 4, revive whatever it is I need. Or if I'm playing something like let's say Galaxy Eyes or Blue Eyes, where I would need to instant fusion to make that next level 5 to go into Nova to make Infinity, and you banish one of those instant fusions, it hurts my ability to make my negate, and that is priceless. They are things you cannot make up for when you put your opponent at a disadvantage by banishing their cards. Only certain decks are excellent at rotation after they have been banished. Skull Servants, they don't mind being banished. There's a couple other decks. Can't list them right off the top of my head at the moment, but there are very few decks that can recover once key cards have been banished, and it gives you the advantage, especially if your opponent sided in something annoying against your deck and you manage to clip it off the Necroface banish. Now you have no worries. Let's say something like Vanity's Emptiness. You open up Gold Sarcophagus, catch that Vanity's Emptiness. Now your spiritual beasts are no longer locked out of the game, and that is why one of the big reasons why we run triple Twin Twister, so that we have no issues with those floodgate cards that can or could potentially slow down your ability to special summon. I didn't construct a proper extra deck for this, side deck for this, but you can run additional MSTs like I always recommend. You can run additional hand traps. So if your opponent is not playing a heavy special summon deck, you can probably side in 2 Veilers or 2 Ogres to replace those, or 2 DD Crows, which is excellent if your opponent has combinations with that they need to go to their graveyard to revive whatever they target. You can DD Crow, banish it, and yeah, they basically lose their target. But yeah, you can drop in those additional MSTs, Veilers, Ogres, DD Crow, Kaijus if you feel that you're going to need those. I don't feel you need Kaijus. I feel you need more substitutions, such as probably the Lava Golem or the Santa Claus. Those two, or you can tack in a sphere mode. It just depends on what you feel your opponent's playing, because we aren't playing like tournaments and you have to prepare for a much larger scale when you're dueling in this game. It requires you to have an even more open mind. But if it was more like, let's say, tournament format, you would have already have an idea of probably 6 or 7 of the decks that you're going to see there, so you would already know what kind of side deck you would need to construct. And it doesn't matter what your matchup's going to be, you're going to have something in your side deck that's going to level the playing field or completely shut your opponent out of the game. That's why tournament format is way easier, because everyone is going to aim is going to be this for basically the same thing or the other, and you're going to basically know what decks they're playing, because it isn't going to be anything out of the norm. Especially as you go through rounds and decks get cut down, it's going to be more of the same thing. Maybe, a couple of mirror matches here and there, but it's not going to be as wide as how we're playing online right now, where you have a larger variety of decks to play against, because it's more free play and not so restricted, because everyone's trying to do their own thing. Where we're playing online, you're going to see some unique things and combinations, people trying out things. But tournament format, you're not going to see that. People are going to construct and play their decks to the T, so that they're familiar with the plays and try to have the best side decks possible. So it makes it easier knowing that there are going to be certain consistent cards that you're going to see, and it makes it easier knowing that you can put certain things in your side deck to be relevant against those. And basically that is about it for Ritual Beasts. They aren't too technical. The most technical play would just be using your Altai-Canna Hawk to select two, and you want to make sure that when you bring him back, you want to select one of those selected cards that you selected for his artifact and rotate it with another Spiritual Beast or Tamer, and just keep repeating that cycle. We are gonna get some Saffira ritual plays in. I'll run you guys through the deck real quick so you can see and understand what I have inside the deck. 1 Dark Hold, Field Clearance, self-explanatory. 3 Hem of Light, because you need it. You must have it. You need it to ritual summon, and it's excellent protection for your ritual monsters. Double Instant Fusion, because we are running the Stick and Share engine. You want to be able to revive, hit your triple rank 4, exceed plays, pop, add more cards. 1 Litmus Dome Dragon ritual for the Paladin of Photon Dragon, and I'll explain why that's in there later. 3 Pre-preparation of Rites, because getting your ritual spells and ritual monsters to the hand off of 1 card is an easy one for 2. Pre-preparation of Rites easily gets your ritual spells back from the graveyard and adds any of your ritual monsters from your deck to your hand, so you have instant access to those. Raigeki, same thing, self-explanatory. Just board wipes your opponent's side of the field. Soul Charge, so if your opponent does manage to disrupt or clear your board, you can just bring them right back. Triple Twin Twister, as always, we hate back row. We want nothing to do with it. 1 Dragon's Bind, it is to make sure you restrict your opponent's special summoning as much as possible, being able to target your Saffira, meaning that your opponent, in order for them to special summon something, it has to be over 2500 or more, meaning you shut out BAs and a lot of Pendulum decks whose monsters aren't over 2500. Vanity's Emptiness, same thing. The Dragon's Bind is just a backup for it, just in case. If your opponent's playing kaijus, in this situation, they are now going to have to give you the biggest kaiju they have, potentially, and they'd have to take the weakest one, so they no longer just out something troublesome and then beat over it anymore. We run 3 Effect Veilers, because we want to see those effect negation. So if you open up and you go first, it's not an issue. You open up second, it's not an issue. You can make those disruption plays as long as you have your Veiler in hand, negate those critical monster effects that could potentially put you at a disadvantage. You want to be able to negate them. 3 Ogres, you want to see it, you want to open up with it, whether you go first, you go second. You want to be able to disrupt your opponent's plays, whether it's their face-up cards or their monster effects. You want to be able to disrupt those. Harness, self-explanatory. They attack your queen with more attack. You just power up to Moxie. They want to go on a special summon spree. You can allow them to a certain extent, get more cards to your hand. Your Stick and Share combo for your pluses, your Summoner Monk for your stick, and your Paladin of Photon Dragon. And the reason this is in there with its ritual spell card is because you can use its ritual spell card to facilitate Summoner Monk, and then you can pitch him into the graveyard, or you can use him as a sacrifice for the Saffira to put it in the grave. And his ritual spell card allows him to be ritual summoned from the graveyard by banishing any of your level 4 monsters, which you will always have in the graveyard most of the time. So you then get to make, let's say, summon a monk, pitch his spell, and get your stick. Let's say you have Chair in hand, you make your combo play, you discard for your triple rank 4, you're going to have a level 4 in the graveyard. Then you would make your Saffira by tributing the Paladin and any other monster to equate to that 6 or more, and then you're going to banish one of the 4s in the graveyard to bring him to the field. And when he destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you then get 2+1, which is priceless. Northern, so that you can bring back the stick, continue your combo plays. The Sacred Wyvern, because while your life points is higher than your opponent, he's going to gain the difference. So if you open up with a big advantage over your opponent, or you open up and you bring this and you start inflicting damage, the Wyvern's attack just starts going up by the difference. So if you have 2 or 3 other monsters on board and you keep inflicting damage, that difference is go to Wyvern, and you could potentially OTK. Armadius, so if you were to go off, it's the same thing with the Wyvern. You open up and you get any of them in the grave by disrupting your opponent's play, and you instant fusion with Northern. You can make either or. Um, if Veil is in the graveyard, you're gonna make Armades no effects activate when he attacks, and Wyvern if you go off on the Ghost Ogre, as well as if your opponent opens up and sets up a heavy back row and you ogred, you can Northern make your Black Rose or your Moonlight or your Clearwing if need be, and then your simplistic rank 4 play with the Castell, and then if you make 2 or more queens and you just want to recover or put them back, you would just exceed summon, target the monster in your graveyard, or if there's a troublesome monster on board that you need to get rid of, M7 is excellent. The 2 Ouroboros, priceless, causing your opponent to -1 from the hand, as well as being able to banish a card in the graveyard or bounce a card back from their field. The Fairy Chair Girl, priceless, she costs you to go +1. The Masquerade for monster effects that activate during the battle phase, such as what's they call Greedles, because they like to be popped and then equipped to a monster to take them. You don't have to worry about those. You don't have to worry about battle phases. You don't have to worry about any effect that activates during the battle phase. Also, if you have multiple 6s or multiple queens on board, you can make Utopia beyond if your opponent summoned a really powerful monster and you want to neuter it. You just bring him, make it 0, and 2 Deltros, because once he comes to the field and you summon a monster, your opponent can't activate trap cards in response to your monster summons after that. And he is an excellent effect of being able to pop a card on the field, so he's going to cause your opponent to go -1 every single turn that he has an overlay unit. That's the basis of the deck, and we're going to run this thing in action. No, I have never been to a tournament before. I would like to, and I actually was watching. Hey, what you say, Shimi? I actually was watching. Who that was? That's Team Samurai. He had up a video that they actually have a duel academy, and it baffled me. And he was like, you get to choose. I think it was the highest tier. You get to choose. Out of the so-called top 10 duelists that they have in the world right now. I think you get 3 hours of tutoring with them, and he went because he couldn't select who they have as the best duelist in the world this year, and he went to the second best. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna humor myself. I really want to see, is there anything else that I could potentially be missing in this game? And I listened to him speak. And if you go back to my dueling tutorial video, there is nothing outside of what I taught in my dueling tutorial that is free for you guys to watch that he did not confirm. And it just proves the fact that I know Yu-Gi-Oh! At its core. So I will leave the link in the description for my dueling guide. But exactly what he said is just you want to make sure that you put cards in your deck that's going to help make you effective against the meta. That's what I teach. Alright, what situation are we in? We're playing Cosmos. Alright, let's do this first. And he's most likely okay. We're gonna go with this. Saffira. Yeah, I know. I know. Wow. Boy, I've beaten them a lot of times. They aren't that big of an issue. You just really gotta lock out their special summon or lock out their monster effects. Yeah, yeah, you're right. That thousand, that's priceless. And as our opponent continues to make us wait. Give me a second. I know if it freeze. Hold on. Alright, apparently it seems like the game froze. I just checked the message he sent me and he telling me to play, but you guys can actually see my timer. It's at 180 still. I can't make any moves and he's telling me to play. Yep. That Monarch engine, like I told them, that was one of the highest speeds in the game. That um the Perform Pals and the Fluffles, like their speed is crazy. Um yeah, whatever you name whoever I'm dueling, yeah, I'm live streaming, and I have no plays to make. The game is most likely frozen. Yeah, you could leave whenever you're ready. Will you say Shogo? Yeah, 3 minutes have already passed, and the timer hasn't given me a win, so for sure it's frozen. Um, have I heard of watching me? I'm just gonna exit this one. This just wasting all of our time. Hey, will you say Ardai? Uh, I mean, Alo. Am I pronouncing that? Am I even pronouncing that name right? And Indonesia, I'm not sure exactly where that is on the map, but that don't sound nowhere close to where I am. um, yeah, I have heard of that anime. I have. I haven't gotten a chance to watch it though. Been real busy. Thanks. Oh, zombies? Yeah, you could, you know. It all depends on you. Wow, I haven't seen that card in a while. Old 1938 and 920. Thanks, James. Oh well. That did not go how I expected. I really expected much more of a fight. Sure, whenever you're ready. Well, at least let me finish this one first. Looks like someone just pooped in my hand. Wow. I guess 3 shimmy. I'll go with 3. James, how to put it? They ultra salty. That's all I can say. They ultra salty. That's it. Like, they get points for actually dueling online. Like, just surrender instead of rage quitting, and we both get points. But they just that salty. So it just never works out. Wow, that's a tough question, Walters. I literally have to sit down character and in the anime, including the Pharaoh, because I've seen numerous times where he actually cheated, like legitimately in a duel. He just cheated. He did something that should not have been done. So that's kind of tough. Boy, I'll have to get back to that. I think I need a whole video on that. I will do a whole video on that. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do a whole video on that. Wow. Tough choice. Oh man. Let's go with 4. Bang, on the spot. I need to get Pegasus's eye baki. Have you ever heard his original Japanese voice? He sounds like a, how to put it,